RAZA for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. With me on this very hot Tuesday evening, CEO of Matchroom Boxing, Frank Smith. Frank, you all right?
Very well, thanks, mate. How you doing?
I'm good. We're talking a little bit off camera there. Before we even go into anything related to boxing or anything like that, how's the lockdown been for you?
So it's okay. It's been relaxing, it's been nice to, obviously, for a bad reason, we're here, unfortunately, for everything that's going on. But for me to spend some time at home, and maybe it's what we needed, everyone in life, that you move at such a pace, don't we? And don't really stop and think about what's going on. That it's probably brought everyone back down to earth a bit and shown them what's maybe a bit more important. So, I'm looking forward to don't get me wrong, looking forward to getting back to it in some way as soon as we can. But it's been a nice period. How about you, mate?
Tough. I think there's only so much, as you know, we're constantly on the road, and there's only so much time you can spend at home. And I know we were allowed out that one exercise a day, and now things have changed. But even that one exercise, was it really enough? It wasn't for me personally.
You're ripped to shreds, mate.
Well, yeah, I've been training recently, and I'm dieting right now, no carbs. So, yeah, I might look a little bit lean at the moment. What about yourself? How's the diet?
I'm still a bit heavy. I've lost 16 pounds though.
Oh, that's something.
Emily's been cooking me she's been calorie counting for me, and I've been doing a bit of training. So I'm down to the lowest weight I've been in quite a while. So I'm not sure how long it's going to last, to be honest.
Frank, when this whole coronavirus pandemic started, did you, in your mind, think it will go on, one, for this long, and two, affect the country in this situation that we're in now?
Yeah, no, being completely honest. I mean, I remember when we did the Usyk-Chisora press conference. That must have been like middle of March, something like that. And at that point, we were working on a show that was going to happen in May. And I think after that, it's sort of out of nowhere. Don't get me wrong, out of nowhere, but other countries had started locking down. But at that point, it just went to the next level, didn't it? And to think now we're in June, and we've had 2.5 months of this now, and really the whole world has shut down, hasn't it? So I don't think anyone could really imagine anything like this happening. It's tough to sort of guess when things will be back to normal. Like things are changing, things are getting, in some ways back to normal, but they're nowhere near what they were. I went to Starbucks yesterday, and actually I'm banned from coffee, so I probably shouldn't have been going there. But I went to Starbucks yesterday. There was 8 people in the queue in front of me. It took me 45 minutes to get a coffee. Well, it can't last, can it? Because there's only like 2 people working in there because of social distancing. Then you've all got queue up outside the shop. So, like in any business, I just don't see how this can last forever. But it's going to take time, and hopefully at some point by the end of the year we'll be back into some kind of normality.
From a personal perspective, a lot of people may think Eddie Hearn travels a lot, but I feel, from when I follow you on your social medias and attend press conferences and events, that you probably travel far more than Eddie Hearn, because he generally sends you everywhere and anywhere. But has it been a relief for you to have a little break, spend some time at home, or are you at a stage now where you've just missed it from day dot?
No, I'm getting to the point now where I'm missing the travelling. Don't get me wrong, at the start it was quite nice not to have the feeling of getting on a plane every 2 or 3 days. And, it can't be too good for your health doing that. But now I'm getting to the point where I want to go and do things, and I want to be able to go, to the places we're lucky enough to, we're all lucky enough to travel around the world and see a lot of things. So I do want to get back to that in some way. But again, who knows when that's going to be? It might be August, September, once we can actually get on a plane and go and work in these places.
How have you been keeping busy? Obviously, I know it's difficult when you're not attending press conferences and putting events together. I know you've been planning, but it's been difficult because you're relying on government instructions and government guidelines. How's that procedure been?
Yeah, no, it's been, look, thinking back to when it started, like I say, in sort of mid-March now, we had a period where we were catching up on a lot of work. We move at such a pace that there's so much work that can be done, when we haven't got shows on. So I'd say for about a month or so, from mid-March till about mid-April, it was really catching up on paperwork, finances, accounting, legal stuff, etc. Then it was thinking, and at the same time thinking about what can we do in this time to be a bit different. Our content stuff, we've been doing a lot of work on that, working with the teams there, our content teams. And then moving on to these fight camp plans and plans around shows. So there's been a lot of work, sort of a week of putting plans together here. And then you get to the end of that week and they go, right, everything's changed, you now need to do this. And then you put new plans together and everything's changed, you now need to do this. So I feel like we kept very busy, we kept coming up with ideas. But yeah, it is difficult until you have some kind of concrete, plan or date you can set your sights on and say, right, that's what you're doing. This is what you need to do to make it happen. Sort of, you can do a lot of work, but it doesn't really mean too much at that point.
For us, it's a bit more easier because we can do stuff from home, just like yourself, home or your office, etc. But the fighters themselves, the reality is this is their full-time job, and if they don't fight, they don't get paid. So how difficult has it been with interaction with fighters, and has there been a system in play where, and I'm talking about those fighters who are not the pay-per-views and earning the 7-figure salaries, has there been a system in play where they get first pick on these shows, or have they been subsidized with certain finances, etc.?
We're working through our schedule. As you know, with Fight Camp, we've got limited number of fights. We're looking at 4 weeks to do 20 fights across those dates, and then with our US shows as well. So we want to get boxing back up and running and get the fighters paid as soon as they can, because as you say, it's a difficult time, and people who are making their way up the ranks, it will be tough for them not having a payday in a while. But I think this is, we'll work with all our fighters to get them out as soon as possible. And it's just a tough time that we all have to get through. It's tough for everyone on different levels, be it businesses, be it fighters, be it people who have lost their jobs. I feel like the government in the UK have done a good job in helping people. Some people may disagree with that, but I feel like they've got behind a lot of people, and hopefully a lot of our fighters have been able to use that help where necessary.
Before we talk about Matchroom Fight Camp, how strange is it going to be to have no crowds? Like, you may probably hear Adam Smith or Mac Lynn and their commentary in the fighters may actually even hear them actually commentating on what they're saying about the fight itself. But how strange is it going to be not having fans? Yeah,
I mean, look, it's gonna be a bit easier from a workload. That's normally a big part of our job, trying to make sure keep about 10,000 people happy. But I think it adds a different dimension to it. Like you say, being able to hear not just the commentators, but the fighters in the ring, the corner teams. Normally, you're in an arena, you've got 20,000 people. You can't hear what the corner teams are saying most of the time. Everyone's making so much noise. But here, you're going to hear every word. I think we saw it with the UFC. The first one they did back, and you could hear the two fighters talking in the ring. And like, it adds something to it, doesn't it? It's going to be very different, but we need to try and build atmosphere in other ways, and give as much access to people as possible. So yeah, looking forward to that.
I know Coogan's touched base with Eddie, and they've gone in some detail about Fight Camp, but what can you tell us in terms of the preparations and the plans, and who gets to attend, who doesn't get to attend? I work in the media, so what happens to media? You obviously need media coverage for these events, but what about all the media that normally attend your events? How will the system work for July 25th?
Look, I think we're still working with the British Boxing Board of Control around the guidelines, and working closely with the government and the sports ministry to work out the exact final details. But we're looking to keep it as minimal as possible. As you can imagine, we're looking at like 90 to 100 people. We normally have 300 people at one of our normal shows, our normal arena shows. So just that alone, and trying to cut those numbers down and create the product and create the event alone with those reduced numbers, it takes a lot of work. We're working through all the details now of the staging and what goes into it, working with our local council, working with our testing partners, working with Sky Sports, our broadcast partner. So yeah, there's so many angles that need to be put together, and I think as well, so many different sort of views and protocols that everyone's relying on. The BBFC might have theirs, got Sky Sports, so being the business they are the size they are, they have their own guidelines. So bringing all those together and just making sure the event is as safe as possible. for everyone who's in attendance.
In terms of the fights, you mentioned 20 fights in 4 shows. I believe the last show is scheduled to be Povetkin White, or White Povetkin. What kind of level of opposition are we going to see in these shows? Because you obviously can't bring in fighters from overseas.
Yeah, no, look, we're looking to make proper fights with these fights. You know, the first 3 weeks, we're not going to have any fighters from overseas. As you mentioned there, on the final week, we're looking at doing the Povetkin fight for Dillian White. We're hopefully looking to do the Katie Taylor fight against Amanda Serrano as well on that week. But, you know, there's a whole host of big fights that can be made, you know, all British fights that we're putting together right now. And, you know, be that we're looking to do Conor Benn against Jenkins. We're looking to do Simon Vallily against Fabio Wardley. We're looking to do Harper against Jonas for the world title. We're looking to do Luther Clay against Congo, which Shaw kicked off on the IFL the other day. You know, there's so many big fights that can be made, all British fights. And I think this is the time to make those fights happen. This isn't about, and I know Eddie said it to Coogan, this isn't about just fighters coming back with easy 6-8 round comeback fights. These are proper fights, and that's what we need to kickstart the sport and get back where we left off.
Surely you're planning beyond the 4 weeks as well. You're hoping that when crowds resume and you're allowed to have an audience, surely you're looking at and making certain preparations already for that. But it's not rocket science. The government isn't going to just allow us to have 10,000 people in a stadium, etc. But have you even thought about if they gave you the go-ahead to have 500 people or 1,000 people, is that going to be first come, first serve? Is there some sort of system in place or going to be in place?
I don't, you know, we thinking about beyond the fight camp plans, you know, when that finishes sort of mid-August time, you know, we're going to start looking at then what we do in September, October, November. And I think within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll have a good idea of where that's going. We'll have a good idea from the government as to, as you say, is that 500 people? Is it 1,000 people? Is it 2,000? Who knows what it will be? But, you know, we have to work on variations based on, do we then look at a new venue, a new, you know, be that a studio or be that, you know, an arena that we just use behind closed doors? Is that an option we can look at? I think when it comes to if ticketing is available at that point, if it's 500,000 people, then yeah, there's going to be interesting ways to look at it. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of demand for those, whichever those fights are with 1,000 people.
Let's talk a little bit about DAZN. Obviously, they're your broadcast partners in the States. Different to Sky Sports, obviously a streaming service. They put on some YouTube events last year, which boosted their subscription, and that model worked for them. There's obviously been criticism from the other sides, Showtime, Fox, ESPN, but it worked for DAZN. You know, it gets them numbers. This has had a great impact on them now. Where are we with DAZN? And there were a lot of rumors going around that they're going to go bust. They're not doing well financially. What could you tell us about your partners?
Yeah, look, I can't speak directly on DAZN's behalf. I don't work for DAZN, but you know, we've had good meetings with them talks with them the last few days about our plans towards it, you know, for the rest of this year. So, you know, as far as we're concerned, it's all systems go. We're working on those plans, and you know, hope to have news very soon on that front. You know, as a business, I think what they've done in a short space of time is quite amazing in the markets they've gone into. And you know, you have all these people sort of poo-pooing it and sort of putting it down and saying they're not gonna continue, they're not gonna succeed. But people should really get behind them, because I think they've done a great job with the platform and done a great job with what they've delivered. And again, they've got a great business there. You know, not just in the US, but you look at their business as a whole around the world. They've done a great job in a short space of time. So, as I say, I'm sure you'll see news very soon. We're working through the plans now with them, and yeah, looking forward to getting back going and restarting where we left off.
We know they were planned to launch for Saunders, Billy Joe, and Canelo here in the UK. That's obviously delayed now, but have they got a date now when they want to see themselves coming into the UK market?
Obviously, it's not a UK sole launch. This is their global product, which is going to be available, you know, in every country. Currently, I think they were available in nine countries before this, but now they're launching everywhere. So I'm not too sure on the exact date of that. I'm sure they will make an announcement soon. But that's an exciting launch, for the global product. And as I say, it's not just directly based on the UK itself; it's based on all those other markets. And it's a huge job just away from the UK alone.
Frank, could you update us on Joshua Pulev? We obviously know that fight was supposed to be 20 days away officially.
Yep.
It's going to be longer than that, we know. In terms of where that fight could land, is there an update? UK behind closed doors, studios, or abroad?
Well, look, we're working with Team Pulev on that front, and we'd love for it to be in the UK, and we're working through. There's a few talks about Croatia as an option, a few other things, a few other opportunities out there. But we're going to, I think, as I say, over the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll have a better understanding of where things are going in terms of crowd. And at that point, we'll start to understand, right, in November time, can we do a couple of thousand people, a small, intimate show with Joshua Pulev? How great would that be for a couple of thousand people? So I think in the next few weeks, we'll start to understand better on where that will end up.
If there were still restrictions of some sort, could Joshua fight behind closed doors? Can it happen?
I think, with all these things, as time progresses and we get to understand what the change is going to be and how things work, then we have those conversations. Currently, we'd like to think that later in the year we're going to have some kind of crowds, and it makes it possible. But with all these things, financially, it's very tough to do. Without a crowd, we were going to have 60, 70,000 people at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and now we're saying, actually, could we do it behind closed doors? So anything's possible. It's just the feasibility of actually making it happen and making everyone happy.
I'm sure you saw the sparring video that was released by one of your fighters, Emma Williams, I think last week or the week before.
Yeah.
He got quite a bit of backlash. Anthony Fowler, Billy Joe Saunders. What was your reaction when you saw that?
The video itself, it was stupid for him to put up, but he's very young. I think he's like 23 years old, and I think he realizes he made a mistake putting it out, and he'll learn from it. Everyone, he's had the stick now. He's had everyone on at him, so I think people have just got to let him get on with it, haven't they? He's come out, he's apologised, and I think he was just overexcited, posted something, regrets it, and now's the case of him getting on with it. I think him and Fowler want to spark each other out, though, don't they? At some point next year.
Is that fight even reasonable? Is that fight even possible at this stage in Emma's career? Do you think
it could be probably more like next year? It's a great fight now, isn't it? You saw what they created between the two of them just off of that. So let's see what happens. But it's an interesting fight for sure.
We were talking about diets and food and weight before we started this video. Two men that have said they want to come back, Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson, 50 plus years of ages. Actually should motivate both of us to...
No, Tyson's ripped to shreds, isn't he?
To rip to shreds. Is that exciting to see?
I don't know. I guess, look, there's an element of it that is exciting, and I'm sure everyone would tune in. It's just whether it's the right thing to do at this stage. But ultimately, I saw David Hayes' comments about it, where he said, ultimately they got in the ring and knocked, their careers were just knocking people out. So what's one more fight? But it's just whether at this stage in their life is it the right thing to do. But each their own. Let's see what happens. I'm not too sure. I'm not too confident it will happen, to be honest.
What about from an exhibition perspective? Do you think it'd be good for people, good for them both?
I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because they both got that competitive. You're bound to have that competitive side. So from an exhibition, I guess that's not what they want to do. I guess if they want to come back and do it, they want to have a proper tear up, don't they? Not get in there with head guards on and
move around.
Yeah, I think that was it anyway. Otherwise, why you like I say, you should look at the pictures of Tyson. He looks like he's taking it very seriously.
Basically, go in there and do what you did in your white collar fight. Just knock the guy out.
Yeah, but after getting beaten up for about a minute beforehand, I wouldn't suggest the first bit of my fight. I'd suggest the bit where you go straight out there and knock.
Is it a pullback on the right hand? I think
it was something like that. I got very lucky, to be honest. His reactions were so slow, and mine were just not quite as slow. So.
Frank, Eddie's always talked about when it comes to Joshua Fury, the fight that everybody wants to see now. You know, there've been talks about Wilder stepping aside, Puda stepping aside, and making that fight end of the year. Wilder's come out and said, nope, he's going to take the fight. Fury's actually come out himself and said, first Wilder, then Joshua. And Eddie's always talked about how AJ is more marketable, sells more tickets, commercially is a bigger star. What did you make of Forbes' latest rankings on athletes, combat athletes, where Fury seems like had made far more than Anthony Joshua?
I think these publications, it's like the Sunday Times Rich List. What's it based on? You know, like not many people actually know the real numbers. And look, it's not my place to talk about how much money people earn, and I wouldn't. You know, it's only for people to talk about themselves. But I would say AJ is still the more commercially, you know, the commercial A side of any fight in the heavyweight division, if not up there in the sport as a whole. And I'm sure people, you know, like Tyson, but ultimately, like it's money at the end of the day. It's not what it's about. On one side, you know, everyone needs to make as much money as they possibly can, and that's understandable. It's like any career, but ultimately, when it comes down to it, they're going to have a fight, aren't they? And you know, the winner's going to win. And a Forbes article of he's number X and he's number Y, like it's irrelevant because again, it's like Sunday Times Rich List, which is based on what's it based on? Who knows? Have they got access to, if they've got access to both their bank accounts, they say here it is, then believe that. That's what I'd say.
Frank, you've been part of some huge shows in Matchroom. Let's go back to Froch Groves 2 at Wembley, Joshua Klitschko. Would you feel a little bit of empathy for UK fans if that fight doesn't land in the UK, which it doesn't look like it will?
Yeah, look, I can understand why UK fight fans or sport fans would want to see it in the UK, but ultimately at the same time, you know, both guys, this is the biggest fight I think both guys could have in their career, you know, unless something else comes along 5, 6 years down the line that we can't see now, and they need to do what's best for them and their career, and if that means going elsewhere, then you know, it would be great to do it in the UK. Of course it would. An all British heavyweight undisputed title fight. But I think we've got to be realists at the same time. And it's like anyone. If someone said to you, you can go and do your job and you get paid 10 times, I'm not naming numbers, but 10 times as much here, you go, all right, thanks very much. Or I'd guess you would. Most people would, wouldn't they? Mm. Because, you know, that at the end of the day is what, you know, their career could last one more fight. And then they're 30 odd years old, and what's after that? Who knows? Or it could be 10 more years, but they've got to do what's right for them in their careers.
And that experience of Saudi, do you feel like that's now you're going to be your Middle East hub, that Saudi Arabia is the place to go after it successfully hosted Joshua Ruiz too?
Yeah, look, we have a great partnership. We work with the Saudis, and it was a great show. You know, it was a great night, and everything that they said they'd do, they delivered on. And as a whole, I think it just worked out brilliantly. You know, I don't think there's anything anyone could have said went wrong that night. And obviously the result in the end was great as well. But you know, I think Saudi's a great place to do fights, and I think we'll see a lot of big fights take place out there.
Frank, do you want to let the fans know about obviously the big announcement, your marriage to Emily happening very, very soon?
Is it?
Rumours. There's rumours, Frank.
Everyone keeps asking me they're like, when's the wedding? Congrats on the engagement.
How old are you now?
27.
Oh, yeah, okay. Still quite
but I'll be honest, we are not engaged. And although the lockdown period, we've never get on so well in our lives. I think she actually likes me. But no engagement just yet. I've got to obviously see Mr. Eubank if I want to do that, haven't I?
Is
That's
that
pay-per-view in its own right.
Yeah, take Eddie with you.
I'm getting evil eyes from across the room.
Negotiate the marriage contract with Mr. Eubanks.
Yeah. No, it'll be a. I'm sure it will all be fine. I think he likes me.
How many years now?
How many years have we been together? We're coming up to 4 years.
Okay.
Is it 4 years? Em? You don't even know, do you? Yeah, something like that. 4 or 5 years. Who knows?
Well, you've got the garden at Matthew Fight Camp. We can make it all happen there, can't we, Frank?
Or we'll do it at one of the shows, just in the ring beforehand.
You know, like WWE used to do.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
I'm thinking, don't say anything to her, but I'm thinking when I propose to her, I'll probably do it in the ring before one of the big main events.
Could you imagine? Audience, viewership, numbers.
Yeah, they'll be like Buffer. Buffer will go, before this main event, we've got a big occasion, and I'll propose to her.
And then she says no.
Yeah, probably. That's the most likely outcome.
Frank, just finally, I just want to end on this point. I just want to get your thoughts. Been a crazy few months for everybody around the world because of the coronavirus. Right now, as you know, in America, there's riots and all sorts of different things going on now because of what happened to the late George Floyd, who was murdered in front of the whole world. But what did you make of that? What do you make of what's going on now? And also, more importantly, racism. We know it still exists. I don't think we see it enough of it in boxing, because I think people will know they'll get punched straight in the face. But we see it in football, in Premier League football, in Championship football, and in general other sports. But what have you made of the whole situation?
Yeah, obviously the George Floyd situation itself is disgraceful. Everyone's seen the images, and yeah, there's nothing you can say about that. And the people involved, the police officers, I know they should all get what they deserve in that instance. When you talk about racism and where we're at now, we're in 2020, and people shouldn't be dealing with this now, and things need to change. So I think I think people are coming together, and you see these protests. It needs to be, things need to be done in the right way. You obviously see this thing of looting, this, that, the other, but people protesting, everyone getting together, and I think everyone needs to get behind it, and we need to make a big change. And like I say, it shouldn't be happening in this day and age, should it?
No, definitely not. Obviously not. But is there a shortcut solution to solve this problem? And how do people instill themselves with racism? Because you're certainly not born with it. Where is that? Is it them growing up in society, in gangs? Is it parenthood? Is it lack of parenthood?
I like you say, you're not born with it. You're not born and you go, this is right, this is wrong. You're taught what's right or wrong. I'd like to think I was anyway, and that's where you should learn. That's where, as you grow up, you should learn what is right and wrong, and it comes down to whether you've got the right morals to know what you're saying or what you're doing, or what you think is right. So it's, I think, for the new generation coming through, they have to be taught what is right, and that shouldn't be difficult. But there should be no difference, black, white, whatever color you are. In this day and age, there should be no difference for anyone. Shouldn't make any difference what you are, and that can only be taught from, like you say, people growing up, being shown the right way. And I think people getting behind this. We've seen today the Blackout Tuesday was what everyone was doing, and that just spreads the word, doesn't it, for people who maybe aren't educated in with what people go through. It spreads the word, and people should get behind it. So it's difficult. I always think it's very difficult because I've never seen it first. Like I've never had anything happen to me, and I'm very lucky in that instance. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. We obviously see it happen. So I'd like to see things change, and I'm hopeful that over the years things will change. It's not going to be, unfortunately, it's not going to be click your fingers and it completely eradicates it, is it? It'd be great if it did, but it's going to take time. But now is the time for everyone to get behind the right movement and try and push for change.
Well, our thoughts go out to George Floyd's family and his close ones and loved ones, and may he rest in peace. Frank, any closing words?
No, as you say, thoughts with, as you say, George Floyd and with his family and everyone. Also thoughts with everyone who's lost family in this during the whole COVID situation as well. You know, it's been a tough few months for a lot of people, and people have got to stay strong and get together and come. But we got to come back stronger. You know, from in all aspects of life, we've got to come back stronger, and we've all got to do the right thing now. So, yeah, looking forward to getting back, you know, to some kind of normality soon, and looking forward to seeing you again.
Frank, always a pleasure. Thank you for 30 odd minutes of your time today. Stay safe, stay hungry, stay humble, all of that stuff.
Always humble, not sure about hungry though.
You just need to get on it, Frank. You're okay. Once you're on it, then it's easy.
It's easy.
You should have used a lockdown to like really slim down.
Well, I've lost 16 pounds. For me, I only weigh 9 stone now.
You know, I saw you in one of the videos when Coogan was with Eddie. You walk in the background, so we had a side view. Didn't look bad.
Like a new.
Yeah,
it
didn't look too bad compared to the last time I saw you.
Fuck off. I'm going to start editing my pictures, you know, like the influencers do it. Just, you know, bring my abs in a bit.
Influencers.
Yeah, I'm just going to start giving myself abs on the beach or something like that.
Frank Smith for IFL TV. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, mate.